The Distress Call That Made Humanity Go Full Force Part 1. First Contact. Alan Hayes leaned back in his chair on the command deck of Earth's monitoring station. The night shift was always quiet. Most of the crew were either sleeping or relaxing in the recreation areas. Only essential personnel remained at their posts, watching the endless sea of stars for any sign of danger. "Commander Hayes, I'm picking up something strange," said Samantha Miller. Her fingers moved quickly over her console as she adjusted the signal. "It's coming from deep space beyond our usual range." Hayes stood up and walked to her station. "A ship?" "No, sir. It's a signal. Some kind of message, but it's not in any language I recognize." Hayes looked at the data flowing across the screen. After the wars that nearly destroyed Earth, humanity had united and built an impressive space fleet. They had explored their local star systems but had yet to encounter intelligent alien life. Most people believed they were alone in the galaxy. "Can you clean it up?" Hayes asked. "Working on it." Miller's eyes never left her screen. "It's repeating. That suggests intelligence." Hayes pressed a button on his command console. "Dr. Kevin Wright to the command deck." 10 minutes later, Dr. Wright arrived. The xenobiologist had been studying potential alien life forms for years without ever seeing one. His eyes widened when Miller explained what they had found. "Let me see," Wright said, taking a seat next to Miller. They worked together for hours, filtering the signal, enhancing it, trying to find patterns. "Commander," Wright finally said, "this is a distress call." Hayes felt a chill run down his spine. "You're sure?" "The pattern is universal. Repetition, increasing urgency, mathematical sequences that couldn't occur in nature. Someone out there is asking for help. Can you translate it?" "Not completely, but I'm getting fragments. They call themselves the Meridians. They're under attack by something called the Vorax." Hayes looked out at the stars. After centuries of wondering if they were alone, humanity's first contact would be with a species in trouble. "We need to take this to the Council," Hayes said. 3 days later, Hayes stood before Earth's United Council. The large chamber was filled with representatives from every nation on Earth. They watched as Miller played the signal. "We believe they're asking for military aid," Hayes explained. "Dr. Wright has managed to translate parts of the message." Wright stepped forward. "They speak of a conquering force called the Vorax. They describe worlds burning, billions dead." "And how do we know this isn't a trap?" asked Frank Carter, the head of Earth Defense. "They could be luring us out." "We don't," Hayes admitted. "But the signal contains coordinates for a meeting point. It's in neutral space, far from any known habitable planets." "So they want us to go to them?" asked Patricia Clark, the leader of the United Fleet. "Yes, and I think we should." The room erupted in argument. Some council members wanted nothing to do with alien problems. Others felt a moral duty to help. "Quiet," Clark shouted, and the room fell silent. "Commander Hayes, why should we risk our ships and people for aliens we've never met?" Hayes took a deep breath. "Because if these Vorax are as dangerous as they sound, they'll eventually find us. Better to meet them on our terms. And if the Meridians become our allies, we gain knowledge, technology, and friends in a universe that suddenly seems much more crowded and dangerous." The debate lasted for days. Hayes argued his case to anyone who would listen. Finally, the council voted. By a narrow margin, they approved a mission to respond to the distress call. The UES Defiant was chosen as the lead ship. Captain Olivia Ross would command, with Hayes joining as strategic advisor. They assembled a crew that included Miller, Wright, and a mix of diplomats, scientists, and soldiers. Lieutenant Jack Powell joined as intelligence officer. "I'll be watching for any sign of deception," he told Hayes as they prepared to leave. Security Chief Amy Wilson oversaw the Marine contingent. "I don't trust these aliens," she said bluntly, "but I'll keep our people safe." The day of launch arrived. Earth had never sent a ship so far into deep space. The Defiant carried the hopes and fears of an entire planet. "All systems ready," Ross announced from the captain's chair. Hayes stood beside her. "This is a historic moment, Captain." "Let's hope it's remembered as a good one," Ross replied. "Engage drive." The Defiant left Earth behind, traveling faster than any human ship before it. Days passed as they followed the coordinates from the distress call. "We're approaching the meeting point," Miller reported. "No signs of other ships." "Maintain battle readiness," Ross ordered. "But keep weapons powered down. We're here to help, not fight." Hours passed with no sign of the Meridians. The crew grew tense. "There," Powell suddenly called out. "Something just appeared on long-range scanners." A ship had emerged from what looked like a fold in space. It was huge and unlike anything humans had designed. Parts of it glowed with strange energy, while other sections showed severe damage. "They're hailing us," Miller said. Ross nodded. "Put it through." The main screen filled with the image of a being unlike anything humans had seen before. It had 4 eyes set in a face that seemed both insect-like and strangely wise. When it spoke, the ship's computers translated. "I am Ambassador Zeltor of the Meridian Coalition. You have answered our call for aid. We did not know if humans would come. I am Captain Olivia Ross of the United Earth ship Defiant. We received your distress signal and came to offer assistance." Zeltor's face changed in what might have been an alien expression of relief. "Then there is hope. The Vorax destroyed our world 3 cycles ago. They hunt us across the stars. We sought humans because of ancient records that speak of your kind's potential." Hayes stepped forward. "What do you need from us, Ambassador?" "First, sanctuary. Our ship cannot travel much further. Then, if you are willing, we need allies in a war for survival." Zeltor's voice became grave. "The Vorax will not stop with our worlds. They consume all in their path." Before Ross could respond, Lieutenant Powell called out, "Captain, multiple ships just appeared at the edge of our scanner range. They don't match the Meridian design." Zeltor's 4 eyes widened. "They have found us. Those are Vorax scout ships." "How many?" Ross asked Powell. 5 ships, each larger than ours." Ross looked at Hayes, then back to Zeltor. "Ambassador, we came to answer a distress call. Now it seems we're both in danger. Will you come aboard?" "Our ship?" "Yes," Zeltor replied without hesitation. "What we know of the Vorax may help you fight them. What we know of humans suggests you may be the one species they cannot simply conquer." As the Meridian survivors prepared to board the Defiant, Hayes watched the approaching Vorax ships on the screen. Humanity had come looking for first contact. Instead, they found their first war. "Captain," he said quietly to Ross, "I think Earth is about to go full force for the first time since unification." Ross nodded grimly. "Let's hope it's enough." The distress call that made humanity go full force Part 2, The Alliance. "Everyone to battle stations," Captain Ross ordered as the Vorax ships approached. Alarms rang throughout the Defiant. "Get the Meridian survivors on board now," Commander Hayes rushed to the docking bay with Security Chief Amy Wilson and a team of Marines. They watched as a small shuttle from the damaged Meridian vessel landed inside. The shuttle door opened, and Ambassador Zeltor stepped out with 12 other Meridians. They were tall, with 4 arms, and skin that shifted colors slightly as they moved. "Some were injured. We must hurry," Zeltor said. "The Vorax will not hesitate to destroy us all." Wilson kept her hand near her weapon. "Search them," she ordered her team. Respectfully, but thoroughly. Hayes understood her caution but stepped forward. "Ambassador, welcome aboard the Defiant. I wish our meeting could happen under better circumstances." "As do I, Commander Hayes," Zeltor replied. "Your people are the first to answer our call. Many others ignored us out of fear. Dr. Wright arrived with medical staff. Let's get the injured to our medical bay," he said, looking at the Meridians with a mix of scientific curiosity and concern. On the bridge, Lieutenant Powell watched the approaching Vorax ships. "Captain, they're increasing speed." "Maximum thrust," Ross ordered. "Get us out of here. Set course for the nearest jump point." The Defiant's engines roared to life. The ship pulled away from the Meridian vessel just as the first Vorax ship opened fire. The Meridian ship exploded in a ball of light. "Those monsters," Miller whispered from her station. They didn't even try to communicate. Ross gripped her chair tightly. That's what we're dealing with. Powell, any signs of pursuit? 3 Vorax ships are following, Captain. 2 stayed behind at the wreckage. They're scanning for survivors, Zeltor explained as he was escorted to the bridge. The Vorax leave nothing alive. Hayes studied the tactical display. Captain, if we route power from non-essential systems to the engines, we might be able to reach the jump point before they catch us. Do it, Ross ordered. Miller, prepare a message drone for Earth. They need to know what's happening. As the Defiant raced through space, Hayes took Zeltor to a conference room. Wilson, Wright, and Powell joined them. We need to understand what we're facing, Hayes said. Tell us about the Vorax. Zeltor's skin darkened. They appeared at the edge of our space 3 cycles ago. At first, they sent messages claiming to be peaceful explorers. When we welcomed them, they attacked without warning. How many worlds have they conquered? Powell asked. 17 that we know of. 3 species have been completely wiped out. Others, like mine, survive as refugees. Wright looked shocked. Genocide on that scale? Why? Resources, territory, and a belief that they are the only species worthy of existence, Zeltor explained. They take what they want and destroy the rest. Wilson leaned forward. And how do we know you're telling the truth? This could be an elaborate trick to gain our sympathy and technology. Zeltor's 4 eyes blinked slowly. A fair concern. That is why I brought proof. He placed a small device on the table. It projected images of beautiful cities, then the same cities burning under attack from massive ships. This is my homeworld, Zeltor said quietly. 2 billion lives ended in 3 days. Powell studied the images carefully. Those ships match the ones chasing us. Hayes watched the footage with a growing sense of dread. Where are the other survivors from your world? Scattered, hiding. We formed a coalition with other refugee species, but we lack the military strength to fight back effectively. Hayes was about to ask another question when the ship shook violently. Bridge to Commander Hayes, Ross's voice came through the comm system. The Vorax are firing long-range weapons. Get back here. When Hayes and the others returned to the bridge, the tactical display showed the Vorax ships gaining on them. Shields at 80%, reported the tactical officer. Jump point in 7 minutes. They'll catch us before then, Ross said grimly. Zeltor studied the display. There is a dense asteroid field ahead. My people have hidden there before. The Vorax ships are larger and less maneuverable. Ross looked at Hayes. It's risky. So is facing their weapons, Hayes replied. I say we try it. Ross nodded. Helm, adjust course for the asteroid field. All hands brace for evasive maneuvers. The Defiant changed direction, heading straight for a chaotic field of tumbling rocks. Vorax ships still in pursuit, Powell reported. They're firing again. The ship shook harder this time. Shields at 65%, called the tactical officer. Ross gripped her chair. Take us in. Flying into the asteroid field was like entering a storm. Huge rocks flew past the ship on all sides. The helmsman's hands moved quickly over the controls, guiding the Defiant through narrow gaps. The Vorax are still following, Powell said, but they're having trouble in the asteroids. One ship just took damage from a collision. Hayes watched the tactical display. If we can get deeper into the field, we might lose them entirely. For 20 tense minutes, the Defiant weaved through the asteroid field. Warning alarms sounded as rocks scraped against the shields, but the ship held together. Think we've lost them, Powell finally reported. They've broken off pursuit. Ross let out a breath. Maintain position in the field. Let's catch our breath and assess damage. Later in the medical bay, Dr. Wright tended to the injured Meridians. One of them, a female named Lyra, watched with interest as he worked. Your medical technology is different from ours, she said, but effective. Wright smiled. We have much to learn from each other. If you feel up to it, I'd like to exchange knowledge. I would be honored. Lyra replied. I was a scientist before my world burned. In another part of the ship, Wilson had set up a temporary living area for the Meridians. She watched them closely, still suspicious but less hostile than before. They seemed genuinely afraid, she told Hayes when he came to check on things. And grateful to be alive. What do you think of their story? Hayes asked. Wilson hesitated. The evidence is compelling, and no one could fake that level of fear. I think they're telling the truth. So do I, Hayes agreed, which means Earth could be in serious danger. On the bridge, Ross and Powell studied the data from their encounter with the Vorax. Their weapons are more advanced than ours, Powell said, but their tactics were straightforward. No surprises or complex maneuvers. Overconfidence, Ross suggested. They're used to overwhelming their enemies with superior firepower. That might be an advantage for us, Powell replied. Humanity has always been good at doing the unexpected. Ross nodded. We need to get this information back to Earth. The Council needs to understand what's coming. As the Defiant hid in the asteroid field, Hayes met with the Zeltor again. We'll take you to Earth, Hayes told him. But I need to know everything about the Vorax, their strengths, weaknesses, patterns of attack, anything that might help us prepare. Zeltor's skin brightened slightly. Of course, Commander. And in return? Hayes looked the alien in the eyes. If what you've shown us is true, then the Vorax are a threat to all life, including humanity. We'll need allies to face them. Perhaps this is the beginning of something important. An alliance? Zeltor asked. Yes, Hayes replied. One that might surprise the Vorax. They've never faced humans before. They don't know what we're capable of when threatened. For the first time since coming aboard, Zeltor's mouth curved in what might have been a smile. Then perhaps there is hope after all. The distress call that made humanity go full force Part 3, the preparation. The journey back to Earth took 8 days. Captain Ross kept the Defiant moving through less traveled routes to avoid Vorax patrols. During this time, the human crew learned more about their Meridian guests. Dr. Wright spent hours with Lyra, comparing notes on biology and technology. Their medical science is different but advanced, he told Hayes during a briefing. They understand cellular repair better than we do. Lieutenant Powell worked with another Meridian to analyze Vorax attack patterns. They always follow the same approach, Powell explained. First, they jam communications. Then they target defense systems. Finally, they land ground forces to secure resources. Predictable, Hayes noted. That's a weakness we can exploit. When the Defiant finally reached Earth, the United Council was waiting. The arrival of actual aliens caused a mix of fear, excitement, and concern among Earth's population. The council chamber was packed as Zeltor presented his case. He showed recordings of Vorax attacks, data on their weapons, and maps of their conquest path. Based on their current trajectory, Zeltor concluded, they will discover Earth within one cycle, what you call 1 year. Admiral Carter, who had opposed the mission, spoke first. We should focus on defense. Build more ships, strengthen our shields, avoid direct conflict. General Clark disagreed. No. If they're coming anyway, we strike first. Hit them before they expect it. The debate grew heated until Hayes stood up. Council members, with respect, both approaches have merit. But we need more information. He nodded to Powell, who stepped forward with a datapad. Intelligence Officer Eric Martinez has been analyzing the Vorax communication patterns we captured. Eric, tell them what you found. Martinez was a quiet man who rarely spoke in large groups, but his analysis skills were unmatched. The Vorax have already detected us, he said. They intercepted Earth broadcasts years ago. We're already on their target list. The room fell silent. How long do we have? Asked Clark. Based on their movement patterns, 8 months at most, Martinez replied. The council voted unanimously to prepare for war. For the first time since Earth united after the last global conflict, humanity mobilized its full industrial capacity. Hayes was promoted to lead a tactical strike force. The council gave him 5 ships and permission to recruit the best officers. He chose Ross as his second in command. I'm putting together a team to study Vorax technology, Ross told Hayes as they reviewed personnel files. Dr. Wright and Lear Ra have already made progress on understanding their shield systems. Good, Hayes replied. We'll need every advantage. Across Earth, factories switched to producing weapons and ships. Engineers worked with Meridian experts to improve Earth's technology. Soldiers trained for combat against Vorax troops using simulations based on Zeltor's data. In orbit, construction crews worked day and night building new defense platforms and retrofitting existing ships with improved weapons. 3 months into the preparations, Ambassador Zeltor requested a meeting with Hayes. They met in a garden outside the military headquarters. Your people surprise me, Commander, Zeltor said as they walked among Earth plants. When we sent the distress call, we hoped for aid, perhaps shelter. We never expected this level of mobilization. Humans don't do things halfway, Hayes replied, especially when threatened. I have contacted other survivors from the coalition, Zeltor said. Some are coming to join us. They bring ships, technology, and fighters. We'll welcome them, Hayes said. But I'd like your opinion on something. Our engineers have designed new ships specifically to counter Vorax tactics. What do you think? He showed Zeltor plans for smaller, faster vessels with powerful but focused weapons. Instead of matching their size and power, we're going the opposite direction. Zeltor studied the designs. The Vorax expect opponents to either flee or meet force with force. They have no experience with this approach. It might work. As they spoke, Martinez approached with a concerned expression. Commander, we've detected unusual energy readings at the edge of our solar system. It could be Vorax scouts. Earlier than expected, Hayes muttered. Brief the defense teams. I want those scout ships tracked but not engaged yet. Let's see what they do. Martinez nodded and hurried away. They're testing your defenses, Zeltor said, looking for weaknesses. Then let's show them some fake ones, Hayes replied with a small smile. Something they'll want to exploit. In the following weeks, Earth forces set up decoy bases with deliberate vulnerabilities. When Vorax scouts approached, they found what appeared to be easy targets. They took the bait, Powell reported during a strategy meeting. Their main fleet has adjusted course toward our decoys. Clark looked pleased. How many ships? 30 capital vessels, plus support craft. More than expected. Hayes turned to Wright. How's the shield project coming? Better than hoped, Wright said. Lear Ra found a way to modify our shield frequencies to resist their main weapons. It won't stop everything, but it should give us more time in a direct fight. Time is all we need, Ross added. Our pilots have been training with the new ships. They can hit hard and get out before the Vorax can respond. 6 months after the Defiant returned to Earth, humanity was ready. The new fleet included traditional large warships, squadrons of the smaller attack vessels, and special infiltration craft designed to slip past Vorax sensors. Earth had also established alliances with 3 other species from the Meridian Coalition. Their ships joined the human fleet, bringing the total force to over 200 vessels. On the night before the Vorax were expected to launch their main attack, Hayes couldn't sleep. He stood at the window of his quarters, looking up at the stars. Ross joined him, equally restless. Thinking about tomorrow? About everything that led to this, Hayes replied. One distress call changed the course of human history. We went from thinking we were alone to preparing for interstellar war in less than a year. Do you think we're ready? She asked. Hayes turned to look at her. The Vorax expect us to be like the others they've conquered. They expect fear, disorganization, and predictable tactics. They have no idea what they're walking into. What are they walking into? Ross asked. Humanity at full force, Hayes said simply. We spent our history fighting each other, developing weapons and tactics. Now we'll use that knowledge to defend not just ourselves but other species who can't fight back. For the first time, our warlike past might be a gift rather than a curse. In the morning, Hayes addressed the combined fleet. Human and alien faces looked back at him from screens throughout the command center. Today we face an enemy that believes conquest is their right, he told them. They've destroyed worlds and wiped out entire species without remorse. They're coming for Earth next, but they don't know what humans are capable of when pushed, he paused, looking at each screen in turn. We don't seek war, but neither will we run from it. The Vorax think they understand what they're facing. They believe this will be like their other conquests. Our job is to prove them wrong. As he finished speaking, alarms sounded throughout the command center. Vorax fleet detected, Martinez announced. Multiple ships dropping out of faster-than-light travel at the edge of our system. Hayes nodded to Ross. Captain, the fleet is yours. Ross stepped forward. All ships to battle positions, remember your training and stick to the plan. As Earth's defenders moved to meet the invaders, Hayes stood beside Zeltor. And so it begins, the ambassador said quietly. No, Hayes corrected him. This is where it ends, for the Vorax at least. The distress call that made humanity go full force Part 4. The response. The Vorax fleet entered the solar system with confidence. Their massive ships moved in perfect formation, weapons ready. On their command ship, Vorax Commander Drekthar watched the tactical display with satisfaction. Another primitive world to add to our collection, he told his officers. Their defenses are pathetic compared to our might. His second-in-command pointed to unusual readings on their screens. Commander, they have deployed ships in an unusual pattern, and these energy readings do not match our intelligence reports. Drekthar dismissed the concern. New toys built in desperation, they cannot stand against us. Proceed as planned. The Vorax fleet approached Mars, where Earth appeared to have built a major defense base. In reality, it was one of Hayes's decoys. The base fired a few weak shots at the approaching ships, then appeared to suffer a power failure. Their defenses are failing already, Drekthar laughed. Send the first wave to secure that base. 5 Vorax ships broke from the main fleet and headed toward the Mars base. They never saw the small human vessels hiding in craters on Mars's surface. Captain, Ross gave the order. Strike teams, you are clear to engage. 20 small fast attack ships burst from their hiding places. They swarmed the Vorax vessels like angry bees, firing precisely at shield generators and weapon systems before darting away. What is this? Drekthar demanded as he watched 3 of his ships report serious damage. They're supposed to be primitive. On his command ship, Hayes watched the battle unfold. Keep them confused, he ordered. Don't let them establish a pattern. Throughout the solar system, human forces used hit-and-run tactics. They attacked, then disappeared behind moons or into asteroid fields before the Vorax could respond. The Mars decoy had drawn in part of the Vorax fleet, but Drekthar was already adjusting his strategy. Ignore the small ships, he commanded. Focus on their main fleet. They cannot hide forever. The Vorax pushed toward Earth, certain that humans would make a final stand to defend their homeworld. They were right, but not in the way they expected. Earth's orbit seemed lightly defended. Only a few large ships and defense platforms were visible. Drekthar ordered his fleet to advance. This is too easy, he muttered. Where is their real defense? He got his answer when hundreds of small objects suddenly appeared on his sensors. Too small to be ships. What are those? He demanded. Unknown, his officer replied. They appear to be. The officer never finished his sentence. The small objects were specialized mines developed by Dr. Wright and Lear. They attached to Vorax ships and disrupted their shield frequencies. At that moment, Earth's main fleet emerged from hiding behind the moon. Led by General Clark, they opened fire on the now vulnerable Vorax ships. On Hayes's command ship, Martinez reported, The disruption mines are working, sir. Vorax shields are down to 40% effectiveness. Hayes nodded. Now for Phase 2. Signal the Meridian forces. Allied alien ships attacked the Vorax from behind, catching them in a crossfire. For the first time in their conquest history, the Vorax fleet was forced to retreat. Drekthar could not believe what was happening. How is this possible? They are just humans. His flagship limped away from Earth along with half of his fleet. The rest had been destroyed or disabled. When they reached a safe distance, Drekthar sent a message to Earth. You have surprised us, humans. But this was only our first wave. Surrender now, or we will return with our full armada and turn your world to ash. The United Council received this message with concern. Some members wanted to negotiate. Perhaps they could avoid complete destruction. Hayes disagreed. This is a test, he explained. The Vorax are wounded and confused. They don't understand what just happened. If we show any weakness now, they will exploit it. What do you suggest? Asked Clark. We take the fight to them, Hayes said. They've never faced that before. They always expect their victims to cower and wait for the next attack. Powell brought up a star map. We've analyzed their retreat path. They have a supply base in this system. It's lightly defended because they never expected anyone to attack it. That's our target, Hayes decided. If we can disrupt their supply lines, it will slow down their next attack and show them we're not like their other victims. The council approved the plan. Hayes assembled a strike force including the Defiant under Ross's command, 3 other human ships and 2 Meridian vessels. Before they left, Dr. Wright approached Hayes with news. We've been studying the Vorax prisoners from the disabled ships, he explained. They have a biological weakness we might be able to exploit. What kind of weakness? Hayes asked. Their nervous system is sensitive to certain frequencies of sound, Wright explained. It won't kill them, but it could incapacitate them temporarily. We're developing devices to generate these frequencies. Good work, Hayes said. That might give our ground forces an edge if we need to board their ships. The strike force departed Earth, using intelligence from Martinez to avoid Vorax patrols. They reached the supply base 3 days later. The base orbited a small moon and consisted of several large stations and numerous automated cargo ships. As Powell had predicted, it was lightly defended. They never expected to be attacked here, Ross observed from the Defiance bridge. Their arrogance is our advantage. Hayes gave the order. Begin the operation. Human and Meridian ships struck quickly, disabling the few defensive weapons before the Vorax could respond. Small teams boarded the stations, using right sound devices to incapacitate the Vorax guards. Within hours, the entire supply base was under their control. They captured vast amounts of Vorax technology, weapons, and intelligence data. As they secured the base, Powell made an important discovery. Commander, I've found their communication logs. They've been reporting to a central command about all the worlds they've conquered. Hayes looked at the data. Can you trace where those reports were sent? Yes, sir. It's a system about 2 weeks' travel from here. Their homeworld? Hayes asked. Powell shook his head. I don't think so. Based on the communications, it seems to be a forward command center for this section of space. But it's where Drekthar will go to gather forces for his next attack. Hayes considered this information. We've bought some time by taking this base. Now we need to prepare for their real attack. When the strike force returned to Earth, they brought their captured Vorax technology and data. Earth scientists and engineers worked day and night to understand and adapt it. Word of the human victory spread throughout the galaxy. Species that had been hiding from the Vorax began to reach out to Earth. More allies joined the coalition, bringing their own ships and technology. 2 months after the first battle, Earth's defenses were much stronger. The captured supply base had been converted to a forward outpost. Humanity had gone from defending a single planet to establishing a presence across multiple systems. In his quarters, Hayes reviewed reports of Vorax movements. They were gathering a massive fleet, just as expected. Xeltor joined him. The Vorax. High Command has declared humans their primary target, he said. They have never been humiliated like this before. They will come with everything they have. Good, Hayes replied. Let them focus on us. It gives other worlds a chance to prepare. You wanted this? Xeltor asked, surprised. Hayes nodded. We're ready for them now. And when they come, they'll find out what humanity is truly capable of when pushed to go full force. Xeltor studied Hayes with his 4 eyes. My people have a saying. The most dangerous predator is not the one with the sharpest claws, but the one with the most resourceful mind. I believe the Vorax are about to learn this truth about humans. The distress call that made humanity go. Full Force Part 5. Full Force. 3 months after the attack on the Vorax supply base, the warning came. Sensor stations at the edge of the solar system detected a massive energy signature. The Vorax Armada had arrived, and it was larger than anyone had expected. Over 100 capital ships, Martinez reported grimly, plus support vessels and troop carriers. The United Council gathered for an emergency meeting. General Clark displayed the tactical situation on the main screen. "They've learned from their mistakes," she explained. "They're spreading out to avoid our mines and ambushes. This won't be like the first battle." "How do we stand against a force that size?" someone asked. Hayes stepped forward. "We've been preparing for this. It's time to show them what humanity can really do." He nodded to Admiral Carter, who pressed a button on his console. The display changed to show new ships appearing all around Earth. "For the past 3 months, we've been building a hidden fleet," Hayes explained. "Ships designed specifically to counter Vorax technology, using what we learned from the captured supply base." Carter added, "We kept them powered down and hidden in the asteroid belt and behind Jupiter's moons. The Vorax have no idea they exist, but even with these ships, we're still outnumbered," Clark pointed out. "Numbers aren't everything," Hayes replied. "We also have this." He gestured to Dr. Wright, who stepped forward with Lyra. "We've developed a biological countermeasure," Wright explained. "Based on the Vorax nervous system weakness I discovered earlier. It won't kill them, but it will incapacitate them long enough for us to board their ships. The key is getting close enough to deploy it," Lyra added. "We need to disable their flagship's shields first." Hayes outlined his plan. The main fleet under Admiral Clark would engage the Vorax in a direct battle near Mars. Captain Ross would lead a diversionary attack near Jupiter's moons. Meanwhile, Hayes would take a small team on a stealth mission to infiltrate the Vorax flagship. "It's risky," Hayes admitted, "but if we can capture Drekthar and their command ship, we might be able to end this war in one stroke." Security Chief Wilson volunteered to lead the Special Forces team for the infiltration. "My people have been training for this. We're ready." As the meeting ended, Ross approached Hayes privately. "This plan of yours is either brilliant or suicidal." "Maybe a bit of both," Hayes admitted. "But it's the kind of thing the Vorax would never expect. They think in terms of direct force against force." "While we think outside the box," Ross finished. "Very human of us." The next day, as the Vorax Armada pushed deeper into the solar system, Earth's forces moved to meet them. The massive alien fleet approached with methodical precision, clearly expecting a desperate defense of Earth. Instead, they found Admiral Clark's fleet waiting for them near Mars. The battle began with an exchange of long-range fire. Human ships took damage but held their positions. On the Vorax command ship, Drekthar watched with satisfaction. "They are brave but foolish. Our numbers will overwhelm them." Then his tactical officer reported something strange. "Commander, we're detecting new energy signatures near Jupiter, more human ships." Ross's diversionary force had revealed itself, appearing to threaten the Vorax flank. As Drekthar ordered ships to deal with this new threat, Earth's hidden fleet emerged from concealment all around the Vorax formation. Suddenly, the hunters were surrounded. In the confusion, a small stealth ship slipped through the Vorax defenses. On board were Hayes, Wilson, and a team of Special Forces soldiers, along with Dr. Wright and his biological countermeasure. "Their flagship's shields are still up," Wilson reported as they approached. "We need a way in." Hayes contacted Ross. "Captain, we need a hole in their defenses." Ross acknowledged and directed 3 ships to focus fire on one section of the flagship's shields. The massive Vorax vessel returned fire, destroying one of Ross's ships, but the tactic worked. A small section of the shields flickered and failed. "Now," Hayes ordered. Their stealth ship darted through the opening and attached to the Vorax flagships. Hull Wilson's team cut through the hull and entered the massive alien vessel. They encountered Vorax guards immediately, but Wright's sound devices proved effective. The aliens collapsed, paralyzed, but alive. As the team fought their way toward the command center, Hayes was surprised by how smoothly the plan was working. "They have no protocols for intruders," he realized. "They've never been boarded before." Meanwhile, the space battle raged throughout the solar system. Earth's new ships were faster and more maneuverable than the Vorax vessels, using tactics That confused and frustrated the alien commanders. On the flagship, Hayes and his team reached the command center. With Wilson leading the way, they burst in to find Drekthar and his officers. "What is this?" the Vorax commander demanded. "How dare you board my ship?" Hayes activated Wright's device at maximum power. All the Vorax in the room collapsed. "Secure the command systems," Hayes ordered. Wilson's team moved quickly, taking control of the flagship's communications. Hayes sent a message to all Vorax ships. "Your commander has been captured. Your flagship is under our control. Surrender or be destroyed." At first, the Vorax continued fighting. They had never surrendered before, but as more of their ships were disabled or destroyed, and with no orders coming from their commander, confusion spread through their ranks. One by one, Vorax ships began powering down their weapons. Within hours, the greatest conquest fleet in the galaxy had surrendered to the humans they had expected to easily defeat. In the aftermath, representatives from dozens of species came to Earth. Some had been hiding from the Vorax for years. Others had lost their worlds and survived as refugees. All were amazed by what humanity had accomplished. In a ceremony at the United Council chamber, Hayes and his team were honored for their service. Zeltor spoke on behalf of the Meridian Coalition. "When we sent our distress call into the darkness, we hoped for aid but expected none," he said. "Instead, we found not just allies but saviors. Humanity has freed countless worlds from the shadow of the Vorax." After the ceremony, Hayes met with Ross, Wright, Wilson, and Martinez in a quiet room, away from the celebrations. "There's something I never told you," Hayes said. "Something Powell discovered in the Vorax records at the supply base." "What is it?" Ross asked. "The Meridians didn't just randomly send a distress call our way," Hayes explained. "They specifically sought out Earth. They had ancient records suggesting humans might be able to defeat the Vorax." "Why us?" Wright wondered. "Because somewhere in the distant past, humans and Vorax met before," Hayes said. "Our ancestors fought them to a standstill and the Vorax withdrew. They've avoided our part of space ever since, until recently." "So the distress call," Ross began, "was sent specifically to awaken the sleeping giant," Hayes finished. "The Meridians gambled that humans would still have the fighting spirit of our ancestors." Wilson smiled. "And they were right." "What happens now?" Martinez asked. Hayes looked out the window at the stars. "Now we rebuild, help the displaced species find new homes, establish a galactic defense network to ensure the Vorax never threaten anyone again." "With humans taking the lead," Ross noted. "Someone has to," Hayes replied, "and it turns out we're pretty good at it." As they discussed the future, a message arrived from one of the research teams examining Vorax technology. They had discovered something important, a star map showing hundreds of worlds the Vorax had targeted for future conquest. "There are more threats out there," Hayes realized. The Vorax were just the beginning. The others looked at him, waiting for his reaction. Hayes smiled slightly. "Good thing humanity is ready to go full force." In the years that followed, Earth led the formation of a galactic alliance dedicated to peace but prepared for war. Human. Ships ventured farther into space than ever before, exploring, defending, and building connections between species. And somewhere in deep space, a small beacon continued to broadcast. Not a distress call this time, but a warning to any who might threaten the peace. "Beware the humans. When pushed, they go full force."